Success.
Yay! Success. Yes, we're back to discuss the season finale.
Wow.
Yes, and we were surprised, David. I don't know if you were, that it was just an hour. Still, they did it in an
It
hour.
was an hour and 16. So it
Okay.
was a little longer, but it wasn't as long as I wanted.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, I still felt that's what we were kind of shocked by the length of the size. Okay, so I didn't even realize it was an extra 16 minutes.
Oh my
It
God.
went a little
Okay.
bit longer, but yeah. But you could tell they didn't answer all the questions.
No, they
So
definitely didn't answer a lot of questions. It
Yeah.
was definitely an eventful episode. I'm eager to talk about it with you guys.
Yes. Okay, we got some comments. Kira, you said you want to do the comments?
Oh, you want to do the comments? Let me try.
Yeah,
that.
let's see. Let's try to navigate. Kira, I'm gonna put this in your hands.
Okay, so the first one is, Corey, sorry can't be there tonight, but we'll catch the replay. Of course, we
yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I kind of answered him too. I told him no worries.
Oh, okay. I see it next. No worries, Corey. Awesome. We also have Holland. Hey, Mika, Kira, and Dave. Hey, Holland. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, and then Tony, I see.
Oh, and Tony. We love Tony. Good evening to you as well.
Yes,
Hello.
awesome.
Okay, awesome. All right.
Okay, so I think we're just gonna go right into it. And I think Kira, you're gonna take us off, right?
Yes. Okay. I'm handling the controls, David, tonight. We're gonna have to throw David some controls next time.
Yeah, throw me some controls next time.
Oh yes, David. We appreciate it.
And David, you know we're trying to work out this text, so I think we would just have to make you co-host, right, David?
Yeah, or an admin on your account, or however you want to do it. It's I can load stuff, but yeah, if you have me as a co-host, then I could do stuff live and actually add stuff. I think.
Oh, that would be awesome, David. So we'll talk to David. David is going to help us figure that out.
We'll get it together. Okay, so
I'm
you
an
got
admin on a few people's StreamYards so that I can give them stuff.
I love it, David. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, well, we will do that, David.
Round 2. Okay, so you guys are going to jump right into it. We hit the ground running with this episode. It opens up exactly with Danvers and Navarro at the ice caves, finding the entrance, and then they're in there. Exploration of the ice caves. This was interesting to me because I said, they clearly are where Annie K was for sure. And at first, I was trying to figure out how they're going to navigate this space. Like, I just didn't know. I just assumed there was going to be danger anyway. But it almost was like, in my opinion, that Navarro had this sense about which direction to go to.
Yeah, she heard the voices. Yep.
Yes, and was led in a specific direction. Remind me, you guys, did she see Clark prior to that cave-in, that part where she falls into that particular space and then Danvers falls in?
No, it was after. So she fell in and then she saw Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But she saw something go off in a direction.
Right.
But I don't think she knew what it was. She was just like, oh. But then she actually saw Clark's face for a second.
Right.
That was already down in the tunnel.
Oh, yes. Now, let me ask you guys. I'll start with you, David, first. Did you assume that Clark would be here in the ice caves?
No, I actually thought he was dead. I was really expecting Clark to be no longer alive. But considering where this tunnel leads, I'm not surprised. And then, what comes out of that is really interesting. So I thought this was a figment of Navarro's imagination at first.
Oh, okay.
Like that she was seeing this as Clark being dead.
Oh,
and like Clark was helping her, was guiding her out.
Oh, David, that's a good takeaway. That's fair.
So that was my take initially, and then I'm like no, because Liz kind of got a hint of that too. But there was a thing right when they first got in there. Navarro looks at Liz and goes, "Do you feel that?"
Yeah,
yep. Like you feel that too, right? And Liz is like, "Shut up, let's just keep going," because Liz is sensing something too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I got a feeling like the dead were speaking to both of them, but Navarro's the only one that has her ears up.
Oh yeah. And I loved when they went in. She followed that intuition, and it was like someone was leading her to the correct place. And when they initially saw another cave in, she was so adamant, like, "No, this is it." And that that fall down, it was all leading them into the same place. I thought it was a lot of comedy, I thought too, because I loved when Danvers fell down and she was like, "Ooh, that hurts." I kind of cracked up at that part. And then seeing Clark. See, I didn't think that was a figment of her like imagination or that he was dead. I thought she was really seeing him. And I was like, "Oh, okay, wow." So he's been hiding in this.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I caught that later, but initially I was like, "Oh, this is what Navarro's sensing is Clark."
Oh, I can see that too. Yeah.
But then I'm like, "Nope, this is real flesh and blood because you're hearing stuff. Liz is hearing it, and I was like, okay, so no, that's really Clark, and he's really running. So now they've got to figure out what's going on."
Oh, yes, you guys, which brings us to the discovery of the underground bunker and where it leads. And if you recall, this is where actually Danvers makes the discovery too of that tool that matches the star-shaped injuries on Annie. And so I know at that instant I was already putting it together in terms of, oh, okay, that was the weapon that was utilized. Who utilized the weapon, we don't know. But of course now at least you can identify that as the weapon that was used. And then now when you see where it leads to, I said, oh, wow. I was just taken aback by that. And at first I was assuming, how could they have possibly missed that? Like if they did a quick walkthrough, but then you see it blended naturally within the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you remember what was on the ceiling though of that bunker? I think that was like because we'll talk about that later, but I think that was the the spiral, but it was that this prehistoric.
It was that prehistoric, it didn't look like a whalebone to me. It didn't look like a whale, but it looked like a serpent or something.
It looked like a serpent. Yep.
Yeah. That was really interesting.
Oh yeah.
That's what I said. I was like, it looked like a dragon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one thing about this episode, like this whole season, there's a lot of symbolism.
100%.
In here. There's a lot of hints that really you don't get answers for, but you're like, oh wow, why was that shown?
Exactly.
And it was, and that's important because either one of the main characters will pause at it. Like in this one where Navarro looks up and sees the skeleton, you're like, whoa, okay, and it's in the spiral. So does it mean what they said it meant, where it was like, oh, this is thin ice here? Is that the symbolism? Like, okay, warning, this is where everything kind of happened.
Right.
This is where the ice is going to break on the whole story. And that's kind of where I was with it. Like that was the symbol of, okay, so this is where the ice will break on getting our answers to who killed her.
Oh yeah, valid. Oh, very much so. What are you guys' thoughts on them discovering the bunker that leads right back to Salal Station?
I thought that was awesome, really, because I was like, oh my God, the whole time Clark was there the whole time. You know what I mean? And that all the answers was right there, and it was so well hidden. And once they get up there and they look at each other, and then it fades to going outside to show the research facility and to show Salal, I just thought I was like, whoa. So I was kind of really shocked by that.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Mika, let me know if I'm jumping in between because I know you initially did the banners. You organized those.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
You can actually be going speaking prior to them actually getting up there. But then they are on the hunt for Clark now through the facility.
Yeah. And that was intense because I didn't know really what to make of Clark, because when they're chasing him down, we see that he like attacks them. Well, he locks Liz in some type of
that freezer room or whatever that was. Yeah.
And then he hits Navarro over the head with a fire extinguisher. So I was kind of taken aback like that, like, oh my God, what is he trying to do? Like he's really trying to attack
harm.
Yeah, like makes you think that he's the killer and he's trying to, he's basically defending himself. But the look on his face when he traps Danvers in that freezer was like, I'm sorry. Like he had this, like he was remorseful and scared, like he was just frightened. And I thought that was really significant. Almost as significant as how Danvers got out.
Oh yes.
And, I thought David, I thought she was going to shoot Oh, I couldn't remember. I thought she was going to shoot her way out. So I was surprised that she used but then I was thinking maybe you can't shoot in there or something.
Yeah, well, probably not. I mean, that's Ectobar glass, at least from what I could see, which is generally bulletproof. So you have to repeatedly, so gunfire would just ricochet in the room and probably kill her. So that she used that makeshift spear, and she just like kept hammering away at the window until it shattered. That was really cool.
Yeah, and I saw that look of remorse, but what kind of took me back is after that him hitting Navarro with the
yeah, and hard too. I thought he put her down. I thought it was over for her.
Oh yeah, but I was not. Yeah, I felt like Navarro had the upper hand. Well, we find Navarro with the upper hand once Liz gets out of the enclosement.
Which was really funny because you're like, oh man, he's killing her, and then she's just beating the crap out of him. But yeah, it just that was where you were like, okay, Clark's not actually trying to kill them; he's just trying to get away.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and I thought too. When they come up into the facility and they're chasing Clark, did you guys notice that it's the same song that Ferris Bueller, the Twist and Shout, was playing from like the very first episode? I was like, oh, look at this, and it was awesome to see kind of Danvers redo that again and kind of rip out, and we kind of see why she has an issue with that song a little bit later on. But I thought that was really interesting too, how they had that go back to that. Okay, so the next one, you guys, is a quick scene, but I thought it was pretty a powerful scene, and that was the kind of the cleanup scene. Like I said, it was really brief, but I thought it was really, really powerful to kind of find Pryor cleaning up his father's blood and trying to put those things together and kind of where he found him. Any thoughts on this, you guys? I thought it was just so powerful.
Oh yeah, I would agree. I think that the score, like the music playing in the background, actually compounded like the atmospheric the tension, the emotion of the scene. I mean, Pryor, his face conveyed just such anguish, if you will, but he still was intent on the matter at hand. He knew he had to make sure he cleaned this scene up, and he knew that he was responsible to follow to the T the orders that were given to him. That didn't make the task easy. And I was holding that, oh gosh, this is something that he's going to carry indefinitely. So that in and of itself was, to me, powerful. And then he's taking the shower. And then, of course, we know the exchange he has when Leah comes. Yeah, I was just kind of taken aback by it. What are your thoughts, David?
Yeah, I agree. It's an important scene. And because you got Pryor, trying to hold it together while he's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell that he's kind of breaking a little bit, but he's getting the job done because he knows what he has to do. Loading the bodies in the SUV and getting everything ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But then he gets an unexpected visitor.
Oh, yes.
And that was interesting how he played that.
Oh, and perfect timing, right? Just a little bit earlier. My goodness, that could have looked extremely.
That could have looked horrible. It could have looked to Leah like he killed Liz.
Oh,
yes! Wow.
But yeah, fortunately he was done, and getting ready to move on, and then he finds the tooth or whatever that is in the wall.
Oh yeah, was that a bullet? I thought it was maybe the one of the bullets.
I thought it was a molar. It looked like a tooth to me.
But really make out what it was?
Yeah, I thought it was like a bullet, but I couldn't make it out. It could have been a giant
piece of popcorn for all. Yeah, I don't know, but it looked like a tooth.
Oh
but
wow!
I was like, I don't know how that tooth could have been there unless it was not Hank's.
Could have been Otis, maybe.
I think it could have been Otis's when he got shot the first time and he kind of hit the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe his tooth got lodged in the wall.
Oh my God! Yeah, we got an F for cleanup in terms of like cleaning up a scene. Like, geez, man, in terms of overall evidence coverage.
Mm-hmm. No, he was determined to like finish it. He did it, so he wanted to finish it. But it was such a powerful scene to see him being the one to do that, and kind of the weight and him having to carry that. But like I said, it was a short scene, but I thought it was powerful and well done, and really kind of. I'm glad they did put that in.
They needed that closure for Pryor.
Mm-hmm.
And so at least we got that answered.
Oh yes, yes. All right, the next one, you guys, is
1 minute, Mika. I'm just gonna get this last comment from
Tony. Oh yeah, okay.
Tony. Let me just see what Tony said. I've been looking forward to chatting about the finale. We are too. Oh yes, glad you're here.
Yeah, and Tony, share your thoughts too. If you have any thoughts on the finale, did you like it? Were you satisfied with the conclusion? Love to hear it. Okay, so the next one, you guys, is I call it Clark's torture. I thought it was quite interesting what they used to kind of get a confession from him. So we know they have the video of Annie K, her last moments, where she's screaming, and they play,
played on loop.
Put the headphones in Clark's ear, tape them around him, and had it on a loop, and just brutal with it. You know what I mean? And kind of left him there to stew and kind of to hear it, and to have them walk away and him screaming on top of her screams. I just thought that was, oh my gosh, especially because of the relationship they, supposedly had, that they were together. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think though this was interesting, the dynamic between the two, because I think Navarro, particularly, you hit her over the head, so she's pissed in general. Mm-hmm. But Navarro was like relentless. Like, she was showing, in my opinion, no room for patience here. It's like, let us know what's going on, what happened. I want to know now. I don't care if this is unbearable. I don't care if you're uncomfortable. I'll leave you here for as long as I need to leave you here. And then Danvers seemed a little bit more subdued, even though there's things going on there under the surface. But the fact that they both left them and to get snacks, I think it was
coffee, yeah.
I thought that was funny, honestly. What about you, David?
Well, there's one thing that's true, and is if duct tape does not fix the problem, you are not using enough duct tape. So they absolutely used the whole roll, wrapped him up, wrapped his headphones so he can't get him out of his head, and then left them there. And that's where you're like, and he was almost like, don't let me hear this again. Right. So you can tell that he's heard this before. It wasn't like the first time he's heard it.
Mm-hmm.
So that let me know that he was there. The first time would be like, who is that? I don't understand what that is. And then, oh my God, it's Annie, and then freak out. But no, he knew exactly what it was right off the bat. So I was like, okay, so he was there when she was killed.
Oh, yes. Now, can I ask David, Mika, did you think initially, just from what you said, David, that yes, he was there, but had a part in it? Or did you think that he actually did it? Because at first I was thinking to myself, oh no, they had a love story. Clearly he cared about her. So he was there, but there's no way he had a hand in harming Annie. I was wrong a bit, but
a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I don't know where I was going. At first I was like, I think if that, if the symbolism and everything was making him crazy, then I think he could have absolutely killed Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if he got wind of what they were doing underground or what they were doing for the mine. Because that was my first thought, is that they were helping the mine with the pollution. And of course Annie's indigenous, so she got onto it. And then he turned around and he had no choice but to kill her. Or he told the mine people and the mine people killed her. Was my other thought. But with what happened here and the way he behaved, I didn't think he killed her.
Right. Yeah. I agree with David. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that too, David, because that was my thought. I thought, because when I found out that they had a relationship and that they had the matching tattoos and it was really an established relationship, I didn't think he had anything to do with it until a couple episodes later when we heard about those pollution numbers and the Salal researchers as being involved. Right. But yeah, this scene right here, to see how distraught he was in terms of hearing her scream and her last moments, I was like, oh no, there's no way he was involved with her murder.
I was like, he was there and he didn't stop it, or he couldn't stop it. But he definitely was not that deep involved. He did not want to kill him. Because I was so thinking that it was the mine guys. I was thinking that he was
I
like,
see
hey,
too, David. Yeah.
I don't want to tell you this, but my girlfriend got wind of what we're doing, and then the mine sent people to kill her, and that he was like, he was stuck because he knew the mine guys killed her, but he couldn't say anything.
So late, yeah. Oh
yeah. It was quite effective though. The torture. I was like, wow.
Oh, it was perfect because he said right off the bat, "I'm not telling you anything. I'm not talking."
Oh,
oh, you're not talking? Okay, well then just listen. And you're stuck. It was, it's a conditioned, it's a conditioned response to negative input. So it's something that it was basically just as good as waterboarding him.
Oh
yeah, very effective.
Yeah, because he was ready to go after that.
Yeah, I'll tell you anything you want, just don't put those things back in my ears.
Oh yeah. All right, I added another scene. It was really small too, because but I thought it was still effective to discuss it because and I think we all thought they would get back together, but it was more so we know when Peter drops off Leah, Kayla's taken aback as why she's back, taken aback as to why Priya is out there. It's like she knows something is going on, and when she goes out to see him, she could tell that he's distraught. And just trying to check in with him to see what's going on. And initially she thinks that Danvers, of course, has put him up to something to do. And he tells her, no, I did it and I need to finish it. And it's kind of like she has from my perception, that she has an understanding that whatever's going on for him is serious. And I kind of have to let him do this. And she kind of ends it with, just come home to me. And I think in that brief scenario, they kind of are made peace with one another. You guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a short scene, but it was impactful, and it at least implied that the two did reconnect in a small way that's hopeful for them two coming together. And he didn't have to say anything for Kayla to understand that she needed to allow him the space to do what he needed to do and to not ask any further questions. And perhaps like internally, she maybe didn't want to know the answer or just knew it wasn't appropriate to do so. He's carrying some weight. He's going to come back and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was a good scene. I wanted Kayla and Pete to get back together. So I was like, okay, this needs to happen. I'm glad it happened where it did. And it fit together that way because Leah shows up and Pete's like, hey, I don't want Kayla to be alone. I don't want Kayla and my son to be alone for New Year's Eve. Can I take you back there and you be with them? Because he knew that Danvers wasn't going to come back that night. But he couldn't tell Leah what was going on. So he took Leah back. Kayla's like, okay, what the F is happening? And you could just tell by the look in his face, like, this is something that I need to do. And you need to let me do it. And she heard him and she caught it and didn't ask any more questions. She gave him a severe kiss. And then was like, you go and do this and you come home. That was, and that was it. So, my wife said the same thing to me when I was a pro wrestler. Don't tell me anything about what happened.
Oh yeah.
Just go do your thing and then come home to me.
Oh wow. Yeah.
She doesn't like that I would come home hurt and I would explain to her how I got hurt.
Oh, the reason why.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Just don't get fixed somewhere else. Come home.
Yep. And that's the important thing. Come home. Yep.
Yeah. Just come home. Just come home alive. That's all I care about.
Exactly, David. Yeah.
So that was good. We needed that. And again, that's another piece, another string that's tied so that we have that closure.
Yes. Agreed. I was happy to see this scene, honestly. I said, please don't leave this hanging. Even if you don't go in depth, this is good. It leads you, lets you know they're in a better place, or they will be in a better place.
Yeah. They're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. Right. Now I might let David start off with our next one because I'd love to get your thoughts behind. Okay. Well, what did you think, David, about? I don't have a clip for it, but we kind of found out the truth about the orange because the next time, I think I might have a clip, but we kind of see we're back with Navarro and Danvers in the kitchen area of the research center, and we got a little insight into the orange. I just thought put that in because I thought it was important just to kind of
connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
The orange comes back again, which is something that I thought we'd see again. And then, you get the explanation of the orange, to where Navarro talks about, how her mother liked oranges. And then that leads to all the other stuff that happened with the orange being thrown and come back, that all that kind of parallels the mom. And so I really liked that. And then on top of that, she talked about how she could peel an orange in one shot.
Yep.
And then Danvers made an attempt to do that, but only got half of the orange done.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, you get that symbolism because what was left.
Oh,
the spiral.
Yeah, that spiral pattern with the half of the peel. So once again, thin ice, something was broken, something was answered.
Exactly. Oh, I love that, David.
Yeah. No, I was so excited they included that because that was one of the things I hope they had answered. What's going on with this orange? And it was great to get some backstory about that and why it was so prevalent, why she was seeing it, why Julia was seeing it, because again, it was something they attributed to their mother. So I really like that. Again, very brief. And also too, that piece of glass, we saw the piece of glass that Liz stepped on, that kind of gave us a flashback of Holden and kind of figuring out a little bit more what maybe that accident that was caused. I like that as well.
And the little thing that I noted that Navarro said here too was that Julia liked oranges as well. So it was almost like this common thing amongst them that was familiar, but it held maybe a familiar good memory, but then also something that resonates like badly just based off of it too. So
right.
Yeah. I like that was added. So that's a nice little.
And Danvers was eating one of my favorite snacks, Funyuns.
Oh, Funyuns! I knew you were gonna like that, Kira, but she said the Funyuns.
I love Funyuns.
That is the road trip snack. We whenever we go on a road trip in the car, we always have a bag of Funyuns with us. It is bar none. That is our road trip snack.
Love it.
I knew you were gonna like that, Kira.
Well, seeing David share camaraderie there. Yes, gotta love the Funyuns.
Yeah, gotta have the Funyuns.
Oh yes. All right, guys, the big one, what we were kind of waiting for, okay, is kind of they broke Mr. Clark down with the loop, right? So we know he's talking. I'll let you start this one off too, Dave. I would love to get your insight on what you thought about the confession.
Okay, so this turned out okay, and I'm going to use Agatha Christie's Murder on the Orient Express with this because this is where it all came down. So you get, and again, visually, you get a different story than what he says, much like what Danvers talks about with the Wheeler incident.
Right.
So he is talking about what happened and that she, Annie figured out what was going on. She got down into the cave. She started wrecking everything. And then Lund catches up to her and starts stabbing her with the thing. And I'm thinking, okay, so is this why Oliver was asking about Lund initially?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yep. When we first met Oliver, and he was like the engineer that was there because he was part of the whole thing.
Yep.
And Lund was the one that he was asking about. Lund was the one that was still alive from the meat sickle. And so so he's stabbing her. He comes in and breaks it up. And then all hell breaks loose because she's swinging at them with the robotic arm. Yep. And she clocks Clark, if I'm not mistaken, or clocks Lund. One of the two. She clocks him. And then the other team come in and they tackle her, and the rest of them hold him down while Lund finishes her off, or apparently finishes her off. And that's where Clark tells it,
right?
That he couldn't stop her, that he couldn't stop them, and they killed her. But we get a different visual in that he's going, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," and then she's alive, and he suffocates her.
Yeah. Like kind of putting her out of her misery.
Like putting her out of her misery. Or because if she lives, then what they're doing at Salal and the whole thing goes belly up. Not to mention the fact that she is going to suffer. For she was stabbed 32 times.
Yeah,
is what they said. So, so I'm thinking he's going, okay, this would be better for her, but at the same time, he's saving his own bacon, I think.
Oh,
and
yeah.
his food. So he basically suffocates her and finishes her off.
Now, can I ask David, Mika? This was an interesting. Oh my God, this scene was just so brutal. But I just want to make sure I heard this right. Didn't Clark say she destroyed the sample she destroyed? It was like basically took them years and years and years to collect that information.
Yeah, he was destroying all those core samples.
Oh, yeah. So I almost felt like you couldn't replace that. Like years of potential advancements, like breakthroughs down the drain. So I said, oh my gosh, I could see how I'm not killing anyone, but I could see how reason goes out the window and Lund responded in the manner he did. So I was holding like, oh, is that the reason he did that versus like her knowing what's going on as well? Like it was kind of just
like a combination.
That piece in and of itself.
I think he just reacted in blind hate because he was like, oh my God, you ruined my work.
Right.
And he just went after her.
Right.
But then, when even after they had time to think about it, they were like, no, we've got to kill her.
And remember Clark said too, they had found it was working. What they discovered was working, and it would be the key to kind of solving a lot of the quote unquote world's problems.
And what about that? Did you like that 180? Because we were thinking that Salal was fudging the numbers for the mine, but they were fudging the numbers so the mine, they wanted the mine to get worse. They wanted the mine to put more pollution so that it could damage the permafrost and make it easier for them to get the stuff.
Yes, like David, that was such a catch-22 because if you think about it, in terms of trying, when people say, oh, we did this for the greater good, it's more or less to say we will do anything it takes, despite the harm it causes, if the outcome is potentially going to far outweigh those losses. But then they forgot that you're still harming and hurting and killing like innocent people. So it's almost just like there is no greater good, even though, wow, there could be. You could cure how many ailments and illnesses and diseases. Ugh.
How many people do you sacrifice before it's not worth that anymore?
Exactly.
And so that was an interesting turn for me, where I was like, I'm thinking the Silver Sky Mine is the bad guy, but no, Salal was the bad guy. Oh no, your numbers are good. Just keep it coming. They wanted more waste in the water. They wanted more waste in the environment. They wanted it to destroy that permafrost so that they could get at that DNA.
That was the ultimate.
That was all they wanted to do. So it wasn't, the mine wasn't doing it. It was Salal the whole time. I thought that was a twist that I didn't expect. And
I didn't expect that either. And then Annie K on top of that was also kind of a sacrifice. And I was interested. It was interesting that Clark said that too. Like even when he said later that we can still complete the work, and then she wouldn't have died in vain. I was it's all about the the work, the end goal.
Yeah.
You guys, I'm just gonna pull up a comment because I think Tony speaks for like Clark in general. Clark was pitiful.
He was pathetic. That guy, he was just, we're doing it for the right reasons and stuff like that. And it's that's what Dr. Doom said. I'm sorry. That's what Lex Luthor said. That's what all the supervillains have said is, I'm doing it for the greater good.
The greater good.
Even going down to Samuel L. Jackson and Kingsman, I'm destroying half the population because it's for the greater good. Thanos. He's talking the same thing. So I'm like, no, we can, it might take a little bit longer, but you could do it without hurting people.
Oh yes. And I just could not fathom that he suffocated her. That he ultimately ended her life. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like he still had room to actually make that right.
Yeah.
And when he did that, I said, "Oh wow, like you are a party to this. There's no going back from what you just did."
And he was still in denial.
He didn't say that he didn't kill her. He just when Navarro said, "Did you kill her?" He says, "I loved her." And that was it.
That's what I was gonna say. He was kind of still in denial, and they even looked taken aback, like you loved her. Yeah. I'm just gonna go through here. We got some more comments.
We got it. Okay.
Hello, thank you. And then we got Pete and Hannah's watch list. It was 15 years of work she destroyed. Yeah.
Woo. Wow.
Well, and the robotic arm took 2 years to build.
2 years to build. Yep.
Gosh, yeah.
And then it said, great call. That's why they killed her, to keep the polluting going. They were all in. We have done so much evil. What's another woman to us?
Oh, there you go. Wow.
They already, with the 9 stillborn deaths and all the stuff that they've already done. What's one more person added to the list?
Yeah.
Because once they have that mindset to where it's all for the greater good, they'll kill whoever they want to.
Oh, exactly, David. Because you can just say that it was worth it.
Say, oh, it was for the greater good.
Oh, wow, brutal.
Yeah.
And during this confession, you guys, we see, because after he says, "Oh, I loved her," both Danvers and Navarro, of course, disgusted and kind of, Danvers leaves and kind of said, "You do what you want to do." You know what I mean? And it brought us to that conversation where they're out in the hallway. I don't have a clip for that, but I wanted to talk to you about that. And we guys figure out kind of who shot Wheeler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And I want to ask, did you guys, because I forget if I go back who I thought was I thought it was Liz who ended up shooting Wheeler. Were you guys correct in who you thought it was?
I thought it was Navarro.
I thought it was Navarro.
Oh, okay.
I thought either they did it together or Navarro did it because Navarro was the one that kind of lost it and then ended up going to the troopers. But to get Liz's kind of confession.
Yeah.
But before that, Navarro's getting ready to kill Clark.
Oh yeah.
And Liz is like, "I'm gonna go."
Yeah.
You go ahead. And she's like, and like, you're not gonna. Nope. I'll let you do this. This is fine. And so she walks out, and you're waiting for the gunshot, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm waiting for Navarro.
I'm waiting for it,
dude. I'm waiting for this fool to die. I'm waiting for the gunshot, and there's no gunshot. And I was like, all right, so they didn't. So she comes out, and I'm like, okay, so Navarro may have learned her lesson, and she wasn't going to kill him. But and then Danvers is like, I was going to shoot him, and that's when you get the whole Wheeler answer.
Oh yes, and do you guys? Do you guys think? I didn't think initially I was prepared for the gunshot, but when it didn't come, I assumed that it was almost like a test for Danvers a little bit towards Navarro to kind of make her just prepare herself to get the information. First, we have to know what's going on. So I think there was a piece of me thought she was hoping she didn't do it. Like it was almost just like, don't respond in this way. I'm not going to get in your way or prevent you from responding in a manner you feel that's needed.
Well, you see, I thought she was kind of just done. Like, I think she was like, kind of like, go ahead, do what you want to do, because they were so disgusted by his behaviors.
Right,
and even,
like,
when
we got our information, you go ahead.
And then when she came out, she said, that brought him to the Wheeler case when she said, Danvers confessed that she was going to shoot him too before Navarro did it. You know what I mean? So that's what I kind of thought. I thought she was kind of just disgusted and just said, go at it. I don't even care.
Go ahead. Back to it. So you're the only one that knows. And then I think I thought Danvers was just writing it off. Like, okay, I'm gonna wash my hands of it. You go ahead and do what you got to do. But when you get the Wheeler case and something happens at the tail end of that, where you hear the baby crying.
Oh yeah, the baby crying. Yeah.
So let me ask you, because of the time frame, do you think that baby was Holden?
Oh wow. Well, you know what it can imply, David, if we're thinking in terms of Holden. Do you remember in this episode when, and I don't want to jump, so I'm going to be kind of really brief here, but when Danvers is saying to Navarro, she didn't know if he cried out, if he was crying out for her, or I almost wonder if that was like maybe him in the accident, perhaps.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Mm-hmm.
But when Navarro kills the Wheeler guy,
you hear the baby.
They hear the baby cry. They're both surprised. They didn't know there was a baby in the house.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying in terms of.
And remember later in the episode when Navarro talks about the vision, and we'll go over that. She says he didn't look like you. He doesn't look like you.
Doesn't look like you, but like like in the eyes, right? So yeah, that was in that vision. It's like he doesn't look like you, but then that was the thing. Like, you don't talk about my son. You don't talk about that boy. You don't mention him, because Liz like shut her down.
Oh yeah.
Now wait, did she say the eyes? There was similarity in the eyes.
Yeah, there was something inside the eyes.
Yeah,
was what she said.
So it could be, because I do know Leah, because she was married to Leah's father, and I know Leah is native, so it could be her son as well. But that's a good thought as well too.
Yeah, because what happened to that baby?
Yeah,
there's no answer as to what happened to that baby or who that baby was.
Interesting.
And I was like, but by the age, because it was like a 6-year gap between Annie K's murder and the Salal murders. And then I would say Holden was probably about 3 in the picture when he was.
That would be interesting.
I'm wondering.
Question mark. That's a possibility. I like that one. That could be a curveball there.
Yeah, it's an interesting little possibility. But yeah, I like that, and you hit that where Navarro talks about how Holden didn't look like Liz.
Oh yeah, she said that, but she said the eyes.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. Yeah, that's something to think about. Yeah, because they were shocked, and I was shocked too when I heard the baby crying. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Now, you guys, I'm going to go back a little bit to Clark's confession, because he did talk about kind of his thoughts of what happened to the researchers. So in the rest of his confession, he says kind of he thought she was back, Annie. He knew she was going to come back to kind of get revenge, and you see, as he's saying this, we flashing back to the first episode when he's kind of come back and he's running around, and he goes into where they have the underground bunker and locks himself in. And then we hear kind of screaming occurring with the rest of the researchers. And so to him, when they ask him, they say, well, who did it? You know what I mean? He was like, she did it. She's back. She came back. And you see Dan was kind of like, oh my God. But I thought I did a note, because he says a line that I don't know, like for the first season, if you guys remember the first season.
First season or first episode?
The first season of True Detective. He said for time, like time is a flat line. And I remember in True Detective.
Flat circle.
Yeah, flat circle. They said the same line. So I thought that was interesting tie-in.
Yeah, because Clark says it.
Yeah.
In that confession, he says time is a flat circle.
Yeah. Kira, do you remember the first season, him saying that?
Oh, yes, I do. I think I honestly felt like Clark believed it. Like, he had no reason to doubt in his mind that it was Annie, like coming back seeking revenge. I think the lore of everything that's going on, and the symbol, and his connection to like that symbol, and his beliefs and this mysticism around even like the trailer, I feel like in his mind he truly believed that Annie was the reason why they died or something happened to him. And then even when you hear what he heard, what it sounded like to him, it was almost like I would be frightened by that. Like, so I feel like for him, he truly did believe it was Annie, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he says that line about time, because Liz says, she brought it back to Otis too. Like, well, Otis, how do you explain his injuries? Because Annie wasn't even around during that time. And that's what he said. Oh, she comes back. She's awake. She kind of takes revenge. So yeah, he was obviously wrecked, one, by guilt, because we know what he did, and also feeling like he needed to be punished. I think part of him did think he needed to be punished. And then we kind of see that when he says to Navarro, just kind of let me go. Let me just, I'm tired, Yeah.
Either kill me or let me do it myself is what he was like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, almost like choosing the fate he deserves, but choosing the fate he thinks he deserves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us to I think during this time period, I think Danvers goes to take a break. She goes to take to take a nap. Do you guys notice that we saw that cross again, that necklace? It was stuck in her hair with the cross. I thought that was interesting because we've been seeing that a lot throughout the series. I still have a question mark about that because I'm not sure still what that means. Any thoughts for you guys around that?
What do you mean, the necklace?
Yeah, with the cross, because we were seeing that a lot.
Well, again, I still related back to, again, I think the series plays on spirituality and our faith and a belief that there's something more beyond ourselves in this world. And then I also attribute it always to like Navarro's mother, because I was thinking more internally that her mother probably was conflicted deeply by what she was experiencing, and then maybe held on to faith perhaps as a way to kind of heal her or free her. And it's almost a play now that I'm thinking on how in like really hard times for some people faith is all they have, and when you're doubting that and you question if there's anything more than like the pain that I'm experiencing, that cross can signify at that point like different things.
I like that, girl. Yeah. Yeah. I like that they showed that again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I like that analysis. So we see Deanna, she takes a nap, and when she wakes up, what I noticed right away is that the cold air is coming out of her mouth. So obviously, well, prior to that, we see Prior moving the bodies, and when he's driving, we see the lights going out as he's driving out of town to get those bodies eventually to Rose. So we know there's some type of blackout because when Liz wakes up, the temperatures drop, none of the lights. She tries to flip the switch, the light's not working, and then she goes looking for Navarro and sees kind of some of the doors are open, and then we see that Navarro is outside and she's allowed Clark to make his choice, which is to kind of just end it all. And Danvers is really pissed about this. That she allowed him to do it because he's basically their witness to everything that's occurred.
That's why I was thinking like she didn't really want Navarro to shoot him, because it's almost like we need to keep him alive somewhat. We don't have anything to verify what he said other than his word. I don't know. What do you think, David?
Well, I'm also wondering because, at least according to Navarro, she didn't let him out. She didn't cut the power. So how did this happen? If Navarro didn't do it and Danvers is asleep, it made me wonder, okay, so what happened? Did Clark free himself, or did Navarro just kind of cut his bonds a little bit?
Yeah.
So he could free himself and then do what he wanted to do. But she was very introverted about it.
Right.
And she was just standing there just staring at him like he actually did it.
Oh yeah.
So I don't think she wanted the power to be cut, but
she said that.
So I don't know if I don't know if Clark did that or if something else happened, but it seemed justifiable to me that Clark's life would end the way that the other guys would end.
Yep.
And this led me to who actually not killed the scientists, but got them into their position.
Right.
And I know it was a massive blizzard, so nobody could have made it there, right?
Right.
So was there someone else at Salal Station, or did Navarro just kind of cut his bonds a little bit, or did Clark figure out how to do it himself and cut the power to the place before he walked outside?
Yeah, see, I was leaning towards maybe Navarro cutting the bonds a little bit and kind of leaving it up to him to kind of make the choice. And kind of like you said, a little bit like, oh, okay, this is what he chose to do. You know what I mean? That's where I was kind of leaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you saw he was just tired. You know what I mean? He was just
was done.
At this point, it's like stick a fork in him.
I'm missing some comments. Let me just say, Caveman. Hi there, Caveman. Oh, thank you. And then, hi there, Bonnie. It says, however Clark's death came about, I felt it was a just ending for him. Oh, definitely. definitely.
Yeah, no, it's definitely what goes around comes around, and it came full circle for Clark. But yeah, I'm still there's not enough of an answer for me as to how he did it, and why would he cut the power?
You know what I was wondering, because Danvers woke up and started looking for them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So to me, we are unclear on how much time has gone by, because with certainty I know that it's freezing outside and probably extremely cold now with the blizzard, the storm. Yeah. And so if Liz, let's say, was asleep for a substantial amount of time, we're holding that we have no idea what happened in that small window. Obviously, Clark ended up outside, and how long was he out there for? And in terms of the temperature, how long does it take for him to look like this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, but just very fitting for Clark, I think. Karma. Yep, like I said, she always comes around.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have a clip for this one, but I wanted to talk about the scene between, we talked a little bit about it, but the scene between the power's out, so they can't get it back on, so they make them a makeshift fire to kind of keep themselves warm. And then we have Navarro kind of going off to do her thing where she's seeing stuff, she's hearing stuff, and she kind of telling Liz, do you kind of feel what's going on? And Danvers is kind of always like, don't start, like, really please don't. Yeah, right, David. Please don't. Shut it down. Please don't start where you go with.
Don't start with your mumbo jumbo anymore. Just kill it.
Yeah, kill it. And we kind of have Navarro trying to start to tell her about the vision she's seeing, particularly to hold it. And woo.
Yeah. Oh, she was ready to tear Navarro up.
Yeah. Don't forget, she said she's merciless.
Yeah.
And this is where, because you said something when Navarro was behaving and trying to get the confession from Clark, how she had no mercy, she had no remorse. And then to have Liz turn around and say that to her, like, if you talk about my son, I have no mercy. I will be merciless. I will tear you apart if you mention my son again.
It was brutal.
And in that scene, is Navarro knew not to go further.
Yeah, she's like, all right, we'll shut that down.
She was scary. Like, Danvers was scary in that scene.
Scary. I thought she was just gonna whip out like 4 extra arms and like fangs and just start. Okay, now we know who the killer is.
It was quite vicious, but again,
I've never seen that look.
Yeah,
I've never seen that look on her. How her behavior, because I've seen her cold, but I've never seen her like that.
Oh yeah, it was scary. And when she said, I remember getting chills when she said, "I have no mercy." The way she said that, it was scary.
Yeah,
terrifying.
But did we understand it though? Like, I do feel like, again, with people go through grief, experience it in different ways. I can understand. Again, it doesn't justify sometimes people are responding inappropriately, or less, in a way, less than ideal of what we were expecting. But it's like, I understood that. Like, she probably is still grappling with so many emotions related to that loss and why it had to occur, that she doesn't understand the Navarro and this second sense thing. And there's a piece of her that I feel is quite angry that she's supposed to accept that her son is not here, but he's in this place, or he's sending these messages because she'd probably rather him there. So she just shuts it down.
And remember the story of when she was younger and she put her faith into God, and kind of how that led to, it didn't help her mother. And she kind of, shut down from there. And I think it's hard for her to see Navarro, who's so bent onto, there is more to what's going on. People are still around us. The dead are still with us. And
I think that's why the cross was in her hair.
Right.
Yep.
David. Yep.
Because it was basically telling her, and was it her son sending her a message, possibly, or was it God sending her a message saying, "Hey, I'm still here, and I'm still here for you. I am on your mind, literally." Because I'm still a part of this. And she just like untangled it and Liz hasn't seen the light yet. Liz, It takes a baptism, literally.
Right. Oh yes, agreed.
Yeah, yes. And to Dave's point, we'll go right to the baptism. And I think I do have a clip of that because we do see
And that's exactly what this was. This was a cleansing for Liz.
Yes. So before we get to the scene, we have Liz just saying to Navarro, she kind of done with her, and she tells her, if you want to walk out into the snow, if you want to follow these visions or these voices, you go ahead, and I don't care. You know what I mean? You do that. And we see her go away again, but again, Liz ultimately she cares about Navarro and goes out looking for her and sees her kind of similar to with Rose, her walking towards the abyss, it looks like, you know what I mean, following these voices. And during this time, we go to that flashback where we always see Navarro in kind of that desert that we talked about when she's doing the flashbacks. And I thought it was so powerful. You hear something say, just listen. And she kind of stills herself and chooses to follow it and not kind of be frightened of it. And a powerful thing happens. You have, I believe, is probably her mother telling her. Initially, I already knew that was her name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What any thoughts on that one, you guys?
Oh yeah, I think this scene was so layered. So two things that stood out for me was, of course, I knew that Danvers was going to go after Navarro, whether she really wanted to or not. She wanted to make sure she was okay. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where Danvers had the initial moment, because if you recall, Holden, she saw an image of him in the water, but prior to falling through the ice. So I do think that was needed, like kind of David said, this ritual in terms of being able to clearly see, because you have no other choice. And I think with Navarro, that scene when she got the name reminded me of what Rose initially said, why the dead come to you in the first place. And one of those reasons was sometimes they just have to tell you something. There's a message they want you to know.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's almost like if you just listen, don't be frightened. You just be still, like you said. I'm trying to give you something that you need, that you want, that you're looking for.
Yeah.
What do you think, David?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this was a cleansing for both Navarro and Danvers, because Navarro got her indigenous name, which is something that she's sought after, and felt she was incomplete without. And Danvers was in this realm of disbelief until she saw her son under the ice, and then fell through the ice, and then she gets cleansed with her epiphany of, okay, my son is actually here. I actually see him now, instead of just seeing the polar bear and the cross and that kind of stuff, because she was only seeing what she was allowing herself to see. And then she finally opened up and saw her son. Navarro opened up to her gifts, instead of thinking she was going to go completely bonkers like Julia. Opened up to her gifts, and she got her name. So that's closure for the two leads.
Agreed, David. That's awesome. Yes. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, and we do. Yeah, in that scene when they come back together, when Navarro is warming Liz up by the fire and telling her kind of don't die on me. After this,
just like a birthday cake.
Yep. After this cleansing, you kind of see Liz kind of, like you said, she succumbs and says, what did he say? And it was Holden. And I kind of love that she said it was the flashback, that game they used to play, to let her know he's around, that hide and seek. So I see you.
He sees you.
Yep, Navarro putting the hand over the face, the polar bear missing the one eye, you know what I mean? I thought that was just that was a beautiful scene to me.
Oh yeah, and Danvers needed that. I think that was the moment where she really truly could be at peace a bit.
That took her wall down.
Oh yeah.
That she had up to protect herself from anybody loving her, or for her loving anyone else. That wall finally came down there.
Agreed. Yeah. I agree, David.
No, I thought that was a beautiful scene. Okay, I don't have the clip coming up. It's not wanting to show, but I want to talk about it. The next, we're back with Rose.
Make sure. Sorry, Mika. Just want to make sure there's no comments.
Oh yeah, no, I don't see any.
Bonnie's the last comment.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one.
Okay, so Rose and Peter, they get rid of Hank's body. Yep, and I loved Rose in this scene because she kind of is just all about the business and kind of putting you where you need to be in the driver's lane. So she kind of like, I'm not doing everything. This is for you to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, what do you guys think? I just love Rose in this scene.
Oh, I think it was just to me it was a quick scene, but it said a lot. I think Rose, for the most part, there's no judgment, it seems, with her. Like she doesn't tend to delve into why we like any other person would be like, oh my god, like what's going on? What are we doing? Like they're two different. Like Rose to me understands that there's a lot going on. I'm going to help in a way that I can, but then also provide as much information as you need to hold to understand your role and responsibility and what you don't have a responsibility to. So I think she was needed in that scene, obviously, for Pryor, but I think she allowed him the space to understand that he can't own this. And I thought it was a weird juxtaposition when he's striking the ice and you actually see Hank, because it reminded me of when Hank said when Pryor went under the ice, he broke it to free him. And so it was interesting that he was breaking it to put him in there. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Symbolism. See, that was perfect. That was really good. Because I saw the same thing and I was like, oh wow, what a great parallel there. They're just kind of saving a life and then letting a life go, and they're connected. So that was really good. I wanted Rose to be, like I said, I've been like advocating from the beginning that Rose was a linchpin here, that she was like a main thing, and I loved her involvement.
I wanted more.
I wanted more from her. I want her to
did.
actually be the one to solve, or to actually have that one piece that solves the case. But what I did get was two things out of this. Number one, she knows how to hide a body.
Yep.
Well, that makes me think she's done this before, not just with Julian Ashes, but she's done this before. Because she's like, I'm gonna cut your dad's lungs so he don't think. So I don't want you to see this. But then at the same time, spirituality comes in, and she's like, you need to be the one to close this door.
Right.
So you have to take your father and you have to put him in. But I'll be the one to take the air out of his lungs because I don't want you to have to see that or do that yourself.
Right.
And then the whole thing with what they did with Otis, I think that was all Rose's plan.
Ooh.
Because they didn't say anything about what they were going to do with Otis.
Right.
They said, take these to Rose and tell Rose this. And then Rose is like, okay. So then she's the one that's like, okay, we're going to put Otis in the trunk of Hank's car, and we're gonna hide the car. Wow. And so Rose is scary.
Oh yes.
And you know, we found her before her seeing Travis out there skinning, right?
Yeah.
Like she has many skills.
Yeah. You know what I loved about, and I thought it was kind of full circle at the end when Rose said, this really kind of wasn't the hard part. The hard part after all the pain and all this is how you move forward, is the after, is the forever, is kind of how you move forward. And I think that parallel to all the characters too, because all of them are dealing with some form of grief and kind of where you are now and how you handle that grief. That's the scary part. That's the tough part. So I love how she ended it with that.
Yeah, I agree. And Rose is still going through that.
Exactly. Yep.
So she knows. But yeah, no, I liked it. But yeah, Tony hit it on the head. Rose is my favorite character in the series.
I love her.
I loved Rose. Rose has such a mysterious background that I want to know more about.
Yes.
I just think there's way more beneath the surface. She's the iceberg on this show.
Oh yes.
Where you're only seeing like the 10% on the top.
Yes, and for such, like I said, quick scenes, such a presence on screen too. Yeah, I really wanted to delve a little bit more into kind of Rose. Tony said we need a whole Rose series. Yes.
Oh, agreed.
I would watch that because we need to know more about what's going on. All right, you guys. So the next one is we have Danvers and Navarro back in the facility. We got Danvers warmed up, the Northern Lights on the background, and they're talking, and then a light bulb kind of goes off for Danvers. I forget what she was. Oh, I forget what they were saying. In terms of holding the hatch, I think that came back to her, and she goes back to the bunker, the hatch, pours some stuff on it. Yep, and sees. I can't even do it. David does it good, and sees the prints, which brings us back to our original. What would it name? B, right? B in. Wait, B.
Two ladies from the warehouse.
Two ladies.
Our two ladies.
Yes, our two ladies.
Yes, the two women of Navarro,
the
domestic event,
mm-hmm.
Domestic disturbance. She initially responded to the two women who worked.
Yes. And I and as soon as I saw those the handprints, I went right to it. I kind of knew where they were. So when she goes back to visit with the ladies, I love the introduction for Navarro and Danvers at the door when they say we're here to kind of follow up on what happened to the researchers. And I thought it was so powerful that Navarro used her full name. And
that was actually a shared name with B, right?
Yeah. Like her grandmother or something.
Yes,
her
she had the name. Yep, and she was able to
had the same name. And then she told her what the meaning of it was. But yeah, that was a proud moment for Navarro.
Yep.
She her chest came out. She pridefully said her name.
Mm-hmm.
And B was like, "Oh, good for you. You got it." So, yeah, I thought that was a cool little tidbit.
Oh, yes,
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and then she asked her, could you tell me the meaning? And I love the meaning. I think it was the sun after
the sun rising after the darkness or something like that.
Yeah. So what did you guys think about the story we told?
I actually liked this. I like this scene 100%. I think that it was so powerful because, again, think of all of these women coming together, indigenous, united. And I love the way that they pose this scenario in the form of storytelling, which is unique to the culture in general.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way the story goes, it tells you exactly what happened to the Salau researchers. So they were seeking justice, right? And I love the fact that their intention, if you will, was not to have harm come towards the Salau researchers, but to kind of leave them in the elements. And if it was meant for them to survive, or they would find their way back. But it was almost just like a rapture, if you will. And we just happened to stir the pot. But it's just a story. I love that. In my opinion, I was satisfied with this potentially being their plight, what happened to them.
Yeah. What do you think, David?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I did not see this coming.
Oh,
I didn't either.
So to have this, as soon as I saw the fingerprints, I was like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
And then they went there and they're talking to B and Blair. And then all the other indigenous start showing up. And I'm like, is this a clown car house? What is happening?
Yep.
There's like 25 women just come into the room. And I was like, Liz and Navarro were like, okay, we're getting surrounded.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you saw Danvers was really nervous and Navarro was like, calm down.
Navarro was like, I didn't want to hear the story. But Liz is like, oh, crap. I don't know if we can fight our way out of this.
Exactly.
But loved how they did it as a story, and I completely agree that it goes right back to their culture.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they did this as a revenge move because they knew what happened to Annie K.
Mm-hmm.
They with the mop bucket and showing where the hatch was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was perfect, and they figured out what was going on. And then they called the tree and got a hold of all the women, and then they basically went and grabbed the workers and went, I'm going to stick you outside with no clothes on. And they were like, they could have survived. All they had to do was make it back to their clothes.
Exactly.
What was meant to happen. They were meant to stay out there because they wanted to take them, is what they said. The spirits wanted to take them.
Yeah.
So they were like, just desserts. That's what was meant to happen.
It's just desserts.
We hadn't intended on killing them. It was the spirits that took them.
Yeah, and it kind of alluded to what Clark said, that she's this kind of vengeful spirit, and if she wants to take her vengeance, we're going to allow her to kind of run its course. I just want to get some comments, you guys. So Bonnie had said, I think this was back with Rose and Peter. It was brilliant how they handled Otis's body and explaining. Oh, okay, yep. I think we'll talk a little bit about that too.
We're gonna talk a little bit about that, but yeah, we mentioned that a little bit. But
yeah, and then all of the women coming around the table as they were all part of it. Yeah. I love that. And then I practically cheered as the story was told. It was an embodiment of female power.
Yes, I love it. It is an understanding too that I think they knew wholeheartedly that first of all, there was no justice for Annie, and she was forgotten, and they're used to probably being forgotten or mistreated or abused or neglected. And this was their way to say, no, not on our watch. We matter. We will speak for you. And the last thing I'll say is I'm so glad it wasn't I feel like this cemented for me that there was no supernatural killer, if you will.
But there is a supernatural presence. I love how they did that. So yes, you did have the a physical killing. Okay, and then you had this story that was told, but you also do have supernatural things occurring. So I loved how they did that. Yeah, and then this kind of concludes with Navarro and Danvers kind of reiterating that stories are stories. And Navarro basically says, "You kind of telling me a story," because the ladies ask what's next, and they're kind of going with, "Hey, this is a story you're telling us." Danvers reiterates that it was a weather event. We learned that the deaths were caused by an avalanche, so the case is closed basically. Yeah, and kind of just head out from there. So I love the scene. I thought it was so powerful. I really, really enjoyed this scene. And I like all the women coming in one by one, and then at the end that united front, and then Navarro, like Danvers leaves, but then Navarro kind of joining them at the end, and them smiling at her. I just thought that was so powerful.
Again, one of their own.
But then the question about the tongue comes up.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I love that.
There's more questions there. Again, you have to assume
that's interesting because Danvers asked Clark about the tongue.
Yeah. And he said he didn't do it. Yep.
Yeah. And Navarro asks B and Blair about the tongue. And they were like, that's not part of our story.
Right.
So where did it come from?
Where did it come from? And then what was that stuff that was on the floor that Danvers
That's what I was trying to figure out that she saw.
That is in the shape of the tongue. That was where the tongue was. So was that left supernaturally, or was that
question mark?
Or was that something else?
Yeah, because Clark kind of hinted at, they just called the mines and they sent a police officer over and maybe Hank did it. I don't buy that Hank cut the tongue off. That's not his style. Like you said, he's not a killer. I don't see him doing that. Move a body, sure, but not. Move a body, but not cutting out a tongue.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see Hank doing that. That's some kind of a, maybe not an indigenous thing, but in some cultures like mob hits and things like that, it's because you talk, that your tongue gets cut out. But yeah, I don't see that in this case. But then, what's that substance that was still on the floor after all that had happened?
Exactly. Yep.
That substance was still on the floor, but there was no answer to that.
One of those question marks to be determined, you guys.
Yep.
It's like a derby outside. Let's wait till this car pass. Hold on, David. Oh my God. If you guys hear like Fast and Furious, it's because my neighbor with this motorcycle, I'm about to murder, but I think he died down for a little bit. We'll see.
Well, we can keep it moving.
Yes. So the next scene, which again was another powerful one for me, because we also see too, the sun has returned, but we're kind of at Danvers debriefing. David, I'll let you start with that one, David. What are your thoughts about that? I thought that was so powerful too, and kind of when she's talking about like I think this is internal affairs, maybe, I don't know, or some type of, they're trying to get some insight into what's
some type of inquiry, because Hank is missing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know where Hank is, but they find the car and they find Otis in the trunk.
Mm-hmm.
And Danvers is like, hey, this is interesting because this goes back to season 1, right? Only the entire season 1 was them interviewing Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey, and it keeps flashing back to what was going on. So this is the same type of thing, only the interview doesn't happen till right now at the end, to where Danvers is talking about everything that transpired.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell Danvers' demeanor has completely shifted here.
Lightened.
Yeah, she's lighter. She's more amicable toward the guys, because otherwise she'd have been like, F you guys.
Oh yeah.
and that would have been all there was to it. But she's calm, she's collected here. She explains, what she could. My favorite thing was right at the end, and this goes to kind of leads to the supernatural thing, where she says some things just don't have answers.
Oh yes,
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and this is someone too, always asking the questions, right? Yeah, so I thought that was very powerful.
Yeah, some questions don't, and usually you're like, no, you got to ask the right questions, because Danvers always wanted the answers. And now she's like, sometimes you just don't get the answers.
Yeah, Kira, your thoughts on this?
Oh yeah, like I agree with David. What I did automatically notice is that she was lighter, and you can tell that it's almost getting closer to like springish weather, if you will. So it's almost like that juxtaposition in terms of like the weather lifting from this constant darkness. And I think she answered the questions, not giving too much, but enough that it answers it for the investigation to close properly. So I love the way she was even answering the questions. And then I love the part where when even Hank came, when they were talking about Hank and Pryor came in, it also implied that, there's nothing to hide here. This is his son. He's working. You know what I mean? It's almost just the way they kind of ironed it out was fitting, if you will, that they can close this case and walk away. And even Liz implying that she's going to keep doing her job in Ennis, like the mine. Well, if it's here, if it's not here, we'll still survive. I'm still going to get up and do my job. I like the way she answered the questions.
It looked like the mine was closed, right?
Yeah.
It looked like they shut that mine down. Yep. She's like, and she kind of quoted what they said at the protest, where they were here before the mine, they're going to be here after.
Right.
She kind of hinted to that.
Right.
But yeah, and then she was like, that's out of my pay grade. I'm just here. There were people that were here. These people were here way before Ennis and way before the mine and way before Alaska was even Alaska. So, way before the AFP. So I'm just gonna, I'm just doing my thing.
Do my part. Yeah.
Really kind of shined them on. And it was kind of neat to see that side of Danvers.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Definitely, like I said, lighter, feeling comfortable answering the questions, feeling like where she was in a good place. I kind of put up this clip too, because you guys were talking about the mines, because we know the mines are closed. And we know that Danvers, they asked about Navarro, because we find out that Navarro is missing, and the officers or the inquiry people are saying, do you know where she is? And we see while she's talking, the flashbacks of Liz going to where she lived, kind of finding it empty. She opens the bedroom. We see the polar bear. That I like that was returned back to Liz, which belonged to Holden. And also next to the teddy bear, we see the phone. And when she looks at the phone, we also see that time probably when Navarro was alone with Clark, he also confessed, and she taped it, of him saying what the Salal researchers were doing and how the mines were kind of in cahoots, and how they was, wanting to do more pollution. The pollution was 11 times higher than what was allowed. And that we find out was leaked. And we know Danvers is the one who leaked it. Right. Which ultimately led to the closure. So I thought that I loved how it was doing that. And I kind of said, when we get to the last thing I want to talk about is because this will all tie in, is Navarro's departure. I like at the debriefing, she kind of says, when they ask Is this motorcycle coming back? I'm gonna kill. Do you hear that, David? I'm gonna kill this snake.
No, I don't hear it
Oh,
actually.
you don't? Okay, so I'll just let it go. I said, oh my god. Okay, so
I know we gotta keep it moving because I just
know Kira hear it because you know that killed me. But at the end of the briefing when they talking about Navarro, I love how she says some questions just don't have answers, like David said. She says some people come to Alaska to escape, to get away from something. She says sometimes they are looking for something and sometimes they find it. And that kind of took me back to when Navarro was saying to Liz in the car, I think it was episode 3, do you ever want to just leave your life behind, like walk away and kind of just go? You know, and Navarro, Danvers was like, I think she did, but she didn't kind of confirm that she thought about that. But what are you guys' thoughts on that? Kind of, we see while she's saying that, we see Navarro kind of walking away on the ice.
Oh yeah, I remember a part of the episode where they were talking, and Danvers has said to Navarro that she knows that there are times that she wants to just go and disappear, but she also said as well, like, but please, like, come back, like, so she did want her to come back. So I think that maybe initially when Navarro said that, it's probably just wanting to kind of throw in the towel with a lot of things going on with Julia and just these messes. I think now I could see her just at a place where I understand who I am. I know myself now. I have my name. I'm trying to figure out, Annie's case is solved. I'm trying to figure out who I am. And then now I just have the freedom to explore and find my way, my purpose. But I don't think it's anything negative happened to Navarro. That's what I'm holding to. That
I love how it was kind of open ended. You can interpret it different ways. Yeah. What do you think, David?
Yeah, you could take this a couple different ways. This was okay. This was, for me, this was Navarro living up to her name. The sun was rising after a long darkness. This is what, you know, this is who Navarro is, and that's kind of her sun was rising, so she was going, you know, being herself. She was being her namesake, and I think that was the point that I liked about what Navarro was doing here. Was she was just going. She was just disappearing on her own. But Bonnie asked a question here that I also
like that. Yeah, and
I because right at the tail end, you know, Danvers goes out, sits there, is drinking her coffee, and then here comes Navarro.
Mm-hmm.
But is that really Navarro, or is that just a figment of Danvers' imagination?
I personally believe that is Navarro. The reason why is because I don't see Navarro as not alive in the physical world. I think, like, you know, David, you kind of like hit it on the head that she is now, you know, the sun. I didn't even catch that the sun was coming up after like 30 days of night, if you will. And she's just now free to truly embrace who she is. And we actually find this scene at the lake house, like the snow is melting, the sun is out. She's with Leah. Their relationship clearly is in a really good space. And then they're sharing that space with Navarro because she came back. So it's almost like they can connect in a way that there's healing there now. So I'm holding that is truly her because she told her to come back.
Yeah, I think it is Navarro as well, because like you said, too, she did tell her to come back. And I think for anyone, she would come back to see Liz. And also don't forget Quayvac. She left him that toothbrush too. And that was kind of, to me, signal that, you know, she would be back to even visit. And remember, they say that there's sightings of her. People have reported that we've seen her from time to time.
She's big. sightings of Navarro. Was
I
had a Navarro sighting, but it was that was really funny. But no, I agree. I think that's really Navarro, and I think, you know, where she's standing here is almost like, again, the sun's rising, and you know, Navarro's the sun and Danvers is the moon, and she's right there, and they're two sides of the same coin, and I love the symbolism here. And
I love it. Yeah, and
really,
especially with the name David.
Yep,
especially with her name, the sun after the darkness. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I actually enjoyed the series. I think that again, my recommendation for people is to do not compare it to any of the previous seasons.
No.
I think that you need to watch it with an open mind. And I think that, to me personally, you would enjoy the series if you go into it with no expectations. I think sometimes people get disappointed because they assume like this was going to happen or this was going to happen. But I think if you go into it and listen to the story and figure out these little tidbits and like really open your eyes, you can walk away from it with like, oh no, I like how they did that. I understand fully where we went.
Yeah, and I love how I think Issa Lopez, the showrunner, said too. I love how it leaves things up to interpretation. She said you're not going to get all the answers, and sometimes we know you don't. That's life. You're not going to get all the answers, and I kind of love that ambiguity of the show, and I thought it was really well done. I know a lot of people are. I think Kira, you told me didn't like the ending because it wasn't.
It's mixed. Some people loved it and some people didn't. But again, I love that too. Everyone can think differently here.
Yeah, I loved it. I didn't get all the closure that I wanted, but there were good points that the main stuff was answered. I really liked how it ended. I liked that they kept the spirituality of the whole thing, especially with the indigenous and what's going on with there. And there was a series that came out last year with Hilary Swank, and it was called Alaska Daily. I don't know if you guys heard of it.
I saw that trailer. I've seen the trailer, but haven't seen the series.
So I saw the series. The series was unfortunately canceled after the first season, probably because of the writer's strike. But it also talked about the indigenous and how they, how they don't track missing persons or, beatings and things like that. And there's on Max, you guys, there's a podcast that they're running about the series.
Oh, awesome.
If you and I caught onto it in like the last couple of episodes.
Oh, awesome.
So after I watched 6, I went and listened to their podcast, and it's indigenous people.
Oh, awesome.
From Alaska talking about that and talking about the indigenous culture and things like that. Really interesting stuff, how their insights into the episode was really kind of cool.
Yeah, we'll just have to check that out.
Check that out because it's really interesting. And but I really liked how like you said, sometimes there aren't answers. And I think they closed it like that on purpose because they weren't able to answer all the questions.
Yep.
You see, I think that's so realistic. I think sometimes we expect everything to be wrapped up in this bow. Like I need to like know like nothing left unsaid. I'm like, that's life though. There's no neat bow. Sometimes you just have to assume where things go, like
Yeah. So what would you guys
Don't give me nothing. Don't give me nothing, but give me something. But you don't have to answer everything. But but leave a little bit to the imagination, and I'm okay. So
I think they did a good mix of that.
I think they did a good job.
Yeah,
but it's nothing like the other 3 seasons.
No, at all. No. I wouldn't even rank them. I think that this standalone like series. Like I feel like I wouldn't personally be able to rank them. I like season 1 for different reasons, 2 not so much, 3 for different reasons, and this one for different reasons.
Yeah, I think it was I personally really enjoyed it. And like I said, the keys that I love that they kept still, that you had this spirituality or the supernatural stuff occurring. And then you still had kind of the mystery to solve, and it was solved the way I like the twist it did. It really it was satisfactory to me. So I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to let everyone know, because the 3 of us, we said we're going to continue to kind of do this with different TV series, because I've just been loving this. I've been looking forward to it every Wednesday. David, me and Kira was so excited that you kind of joined us, because we love your insight, and this is something that the 3 of us want to continue. So the plan is to kind of pick a TV series and have these discussions and keep them going. I think on the same schedule, because we love TV, because we love film too. But there's so much great writing in TV and so many great series out there.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Maybe people can share. Maybe put into the comments if there's a series that we should have on our radar. Never know. Maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
So before we wrap up, you guys anything you guys want to say? I want to kind of, David, you plug kind of, because I think you have a show tonight, right? I want you to plug that and kind of where people can find you. So yep.
Okay. Yeah, so now this has been an amazing season, and also been amazing with you guys. And just by accident, the three of us kind of ended up together on this. And I am so excited about continuing this with other shows. Because I don't get to talk about TV series too often. And I love TV series almost as much as I love movies. So I'm more than happy to keep doing this. So yeah, if you guys in the comments throw out some TV series that we can look at. We've talked about some TV series. So I'm looking forward to that. But if you guys are interested, so the Faces for Radio podcast is on the @ symbol there on my name there. It's @Faces, the number 4 radio on YouTube. And we have a show going on live tonight in about 30 minutes called By the Numbers, where we take new releases from streaming, video, or theater, and we review them, myself and Rich, Turner Fan 77. We score them in a unique format that was invented by me. And then we put it together, and then we rank them from 5 to 1. In this case, though, we have 7 movies that we're doing tonight.
Wow.
Including 2 from the theater. We're going to be looking at Madam Web and Lisa Frankenstein.
I didn't hear things about
and also several documentaries. Chowchilla, which is on Max. We're looking at Lover, Stalker, Killer, which is on Netflix.
Saw that. Oh, that was great.
And then there's a short movie with David Ayala called The After, which is nominated for an Oscar for Best Short Film. So we got to look at that. And that's all I can remember off the top of my head, but there's a couple others. But how about The Ones Who Live?
Oh, okay.
Ones Who Live. Ooh, I heard that, noting it.
She's also like, she also wants the.
I saw that. Thank you, Molly. She said she loved the vibes.
Yeah.
Oh,
we all love tea, so it's I even got my T-Rex shirt.
The Ones Who Live. Okay.
Oh, Mama Blu-ray joined. Hi, Mama Blu-ray.
What's up, Bonnie?
Yes, Bonnie is another Bonnie who joined.
That's another Bonnie. But yeah, so we're on every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Regular as clockwork. We're trying to do one every week for the entire year. So that'll be 52 weeks.
Oh, wow.
52 more weeks. So yeah, we'll be celebrating our 100th episode of By the Numbers mid-December, I think, because we did 50 last year.
Awesome.
We're going to do 52 this year. So that's going to be awesome. And then, of course, we also have Movie News at 5, which is a new show that we just started. It runs at 5 p.m. on Fridays, Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, loving that new series, you guys.
Oh, good, thanks. Yeah, it's just it's pre-recorded, and then we put it out as a premiere, and then usually, if we can, either myself or Rich will be on to answer questions or whatever. Basically, it's just 5 pieces of information that we get from the entertainment news.
Oh, I love that.
New releases that are coming out, some new trailers that have dropped. And then if there are any celebrity deaths or anything like that, we try to include that as well. So that'll be filmed tonight and will air Friday. So
wow, David Wednesday be stacked.
Wednesday stacked for me.
And you guys, I'm going to make sure too, we always include all of David's information and where you can find him. I'll make sure that's all included in the info session, so you guys can just click and go right there. So that's awesome. Yeah, David is a busy man, and we're gonna have him join too as an admin to kind of help me and Kira out with our tech. Get a little bit better. Yeah. Oh yes, but this was so great, and like I said, thank you everyone for joining us. We're gonna get this thing going because I just love talking with these two. But I appreciate everyone in the comments: Bonnie, Tony, Corey, Mama Blu-ray, our other Bonnie, Holland, Caveman, Pete, and Hannah, Louise. Thank you all for joining us in the comments. We appreciate that. So hope everyone had a great night. And like I said, give us some TV recommendations. And we're gonna sign off. All right, bye everyone.
Hi everybody.